Yes, sir. This is a, what is that? Okay, Buick 350. Not a Chevy 350, a Buick 350. And we're going to be pulling this tired old turd out of here so that I can clean up and paint the engine bay. We're going to put a timing chain on the engine itself and a new water pump, and just give it a little fluff job, and going to repaint the engine and all the brackets and get everything placed back in. I'm not going to do it all in this one shot, but hopefully you guys will be able to keep up all the way through this project. Jeep update. It's still sitting there. It's just had its rear end rebuilt, and just waiting to have the time to go over there and preload the oil pump and start that bad mama jama. So we're gonna make sure we do a video on that one for sure. What I'm doing right now is I'm going through, and I've got a marker and some blue tape, and I'm marking all the wires as I disconnect them to what they go to, so then I'm gonna try to pull this thing in one big chunk. I think we're going to do part 2 on the Jeep Patriot, and the reason is, realizing how difficult this is to make this a stealth installation, I don't want to just run the wires like under the hood hinges and tucked into the fender and have it go around in there as if like some high school student did it. See, there's the power to the computer. There's the harness here. It goes inside the fender. So I think what we're going to do as far as getting the wires run to the correct places is I'm going to have to remove this tire and take the inner fender well out so I can find access into the cab, because somewhere these wires go into the cab and it's not against the regular firewall like you would think. They actually have this Jeep sealed off really well, like a boat. So let's see what I can get started here. Okay, got the inner fender well out. It was 1, 2, 3 7mm screws, 1, 2 7mm screws. Then I had plastic clip here, plastic clip over there, I believe one over there, and I had 2 plastic clips that were here and here. And lo and behold, there's the wire harness, and that should be the access to go through to the inside of the car is right there, and that's how I'm going to shove my wire through. So it's hard to see, but this rubber grommet, good job Jeep. This is the grommet where the harness goes into the inside. Not only is it high up and a snap-in grommet, but it's also like taped and sealed there. So this thing would probably float if it got submerged in high water. I'm going to try and run this cable through that spot right there. So I know it's hard to see, but I got my tuck game going on right here along with the harness, and the wire goes in to the rubber grommet up here in order to reach through the cab instead of me having to make any unnecessary holes. So now let's go see if we can find the wire in the cab and plug in the switch. And boom. Got my switch to the inside of the cab without having to make any unnecessary holes through the firewall. Everything else should basically stay up on top. The only holes I'm going to have to drill is to actually mount the light bar into the ceiling, and I'm afraid, I'm really honestly afraid, I'm gonna have to put on some clean clothes and wash my hands really well, because I'm gonna have to take this headliner partially down in order to mount this in correctly. So I pulled the piece of air intake off that covers up over the top of the battery, and what I'm seeing here is a main port and an accessory port. So I'm gonna keep this simple, and I'm just gonna hook the ground up to this big fat ground here, and the power supply to the lights to that battery accessory port right here. Alright, next day, I'm going to have to put this on rush before I go back to work on the Buick. Turns out the young lady's partner had an accident in her Patriot and got taken out by an 18-wheeler yesterday. So what I'm going to do right now is take this long piece of wire. There was a junction here where 2 little tails came out. I guess this wire harness is for hooking up 2 separate lights like what we did in the front, but I only need the 1 signal for the light bar. So I clipped off the clips and I waterproofed it, and we're now going to take this and slide it up into this plastic piece of trim along the windshield so that it comes out right there at the top and that's where we're going to clean our surface and mount our light. So here's what I got going on. Instead of removing this piece of trim, I am actually using one Bondo blade to lift the rubber edge and put the wire in behind it. You can kind of see here. And then when I get past it, I'm using the second one to actually pop it into the hollow space that's in right here. And so if everything goes right, the only spot you might see a little bit of wire, it's gonna be right here in that gap. But there's not much I can do about that. I'm just trying to figure out how this trim got so loose. You see this dirt line? I already had to lift and snap this rubber grommet for the windshield back in. It was starting to peel off. I don't see any reason why, and this one's doing it too. So I'm gonna try and make it fit better when I'm done anyhow. It's weird. So I got my wire put in. It's, as you can see, stealthily goes up the trim. Comes out here at the top. And I've got loads of excess to be able to reach to the far side of the light bar, which I don't know why you don't think ahead on these things unless it's built for cars that are right-hand drive. Anyways, I'm gonna go wash up my hands really well, because now what I got to do is pull the headliner back just enough to be able to get my hands in between here, and I'm gonna go buy some rubber foam, because there's rubber foam for the top mounts, but there's nothing for the bottom, and I want to use a fender washer, but I don't want to dent the roof at all. So the best thing to do in these situations is to rubber shim on both sides and just snug it in really nicely so there isn't any play. So I'm gonna go wash my hands up, and we'll get the headliner back, and then we'll probably go ahead, get our holes marked and drill them, and before we do our final bolt, run to the store and grab some rubber foam. Real quick, I'm gonna go ahead and reinstall this inner fender well in here, because everything I need to get done in here is done. Everything that needs to be tucked is tucked. So I can get it back together and move on. So the first thing I'm gonna do is go straight for the stuff that I think is gonna be holding me up automatically, like the oh shit handles, the sun visors, maybe that light assembly, and these column trim pieces. They're gonna be the first things I look at. It seems like so far the sun visors is just a Phillips head screwdriver, so I'm gonna go ahead and get this sun visor off, that sun visor off. We're gonna go for the shit handles next, and then we're gonna do the column trim next, last, and basically all I gotta do is get my hand underneath there on each side so I can apply the hardware as well as some sealant. I'm going to use some of the black Permatex actually to seal the roof, because for one, if it works on water pumps and resists oil, it'll work on the roof, and for two, if any of it squishes out and shows on the outside, it'll be gloss black and it'll blend in with the truck. So you can see I already got this pillar trim out, and it's just a let me show you here. There's just a square cover right there. You can pick it out with your thumbnail. Take that off. There's a big screw behind it. Try not to drop the screw. If you have a magnetic screwdriver, I highly recommend it, because it's going to be a pain in the D to get it in and out. So now, as you can see right here, pick out this square. See, there we go. The screw's right there. Once I undo this screw, you pull forward from the top and then you lift out, and it just comes right out with the greatest of ease and exposes the gas cartridge for the airbag. So that did the trick. You can see it's just loose enough for me to get my hand up in there. What I'm going to do right now, though, to gain myself some space, is I'm going to wad up some old t-shirts, and I'm going to stick them up in between the headliner and the ceiling to create a gap so I don't accidentally hit the headliner with the drill bit. And I'll go outside, line up my light, make my marks, and we'll get drilled. Once we're drilled, then we're going to go to the store and pick up some rubber grommet type material in order to create a buffer space so we don't ruin the top of her car. My light bar, 32 inch. Not my light bar, the light bar I'm installing, but the rubber feet don't like to stay on, of course, because there's no way to adhere them. So I went ahead, so I can get them to stay put and not scratch the car. I taped them in place. Gonna poke the holes. We're gonna get this thing up there, measure it out, and mark some holes to drill. All right, here's the big moment. I measured out my light bar and put a, where's it at? Put a nice scratch right there in the paint where my hole needs to go for my bolt. Did the same thing to the other side. So we're gonna get our holes drilled first, and then we're gonna run off to the hardware store, because I also want to use some aircraft nylons on here instead of the little crappy hardware they use. Their hardware they send you is always junk. So we're going to use some nylons on there, make guarantee that it doesn't back out. So there's no turning back now. I got my, where is it? Can't even see the, oh, there it is. I got a hole drilled all the way through the roof. It's always nerve-wracking. But what I'm going to do though is use this ultra black Permatex. And I'm going to seal the hole when I put the hardware through from the hardware position and the mount position. And even if some squishes out, it's okay because it's gloss black when it dries, so it ought to blend right in even if a little bit does show. Yay! For the sake of knowing what I was doing first, I went ahead and did the other side. Now I do realize when I tighten these down, it's going to dimple the roof a hair. Not really much I can do that because I can't go inside the car and put spacers there without like maybe spraying some expansion foam first. That's going to make a bigger mess than necessary. So got my screw there. I'm going to peel my tape off here. It's just rubber. Oh snap. Alright. So what I'm going to do is, first, I put a bead on this hole, in this hole, and around this hole. Then I put a bead in between the rubber seal, where's my finger, in between the rubber seal and the metal, and I pop some in the hole here. So when I run my bolt through, it should seal everything off completely. Well, the Allen's actually kind of threaded to the metal. I had the hole drilled to the exact size. You can see the sealant RTV poking out the sides, but that's perfectly all right. That's what it's supposed to do. I'm going to come in now, pull the headliner back, use a 10mm ratchet and socket to tighten this washer and nut down to the bottom. But it's actually on right now, like it is on. So then all I'm going to have to do at that point, after that, is shorten up this dragon's tail here and get the proper plugs onto the end of here, and then I'm just going to have to tuck this into the heat sinks on the back of the light. So it ought to work out pretty nicely. Get that pillar in. I got this pillar in. I'm going to put all the hardware back into the ceiling because this bad mama jama's mounted. It's done. Let me put all her trim and screws back and stuff, and then I get to come up here, hook up the power, tuck the wire. Then we have the switch run into the cab from the engine compartment. We're going to mount it in somewhere and take this slack up. And I think it's time for a test fire and we'll be done. Man's got a strong tuck game. So I got the wire tucked and connected, and it's hiding in the heat sink. For some reason, the light hooks up on that side. The harness is designed to come up on this side. Don't get it. Anyhow, what we're going to do now is going to go, we got this all tied up and cleaned up, tucked into there, run down. We're going to go plug in the power and give it a test run. If the test run is successful, we're going to go set the location for the on-off switch, and then that's it. We're going to put everything back and clean up. The power, heard my relay over here hit. I'm going to mount this with a self-tapper to the wall, and bam, look at that. We have light. It works. I'm going to button some things up and clean this jazz up, and I'm done. That was simple enough. I had two screws, one here and one there for this bottom plastic piece to come out. Ran my wire switch up here through the top, and it's got some sticky shit on the back, so you can take it in place. What I don't like about this switch is that, and this is a really cheap switch, I could tell, listen, look at that button wiggles. Anyways, I don't like how the red light is on for off, and then when you turn them on, the on LED doesn't even come on. But at least you have some indicator of what's going on there. Let's see. Yeah. Alright, so now I guess it's just time for cleanup. And I gotta plug a turn signal in that I forgot. Yo! This is our complete light bar hookup. So we had to, we did the bumper and these two lights in the last video, and this video we installed the actual light bar and mounted it through the roof. So everything's really tucked in really nicely. I got the black Permatex, the lights mounted really well, and we got our switch mounted into the side right there. So guys got strong tuck game, what can I say? Strong tuck game. And we moving right along. I just pulled this Buick 350 out of the 72 Buick. Got it bagged off, about to give it a bath. But first, I have to try and fix the pressure washers, leaking a whole bunch. And then you guys can watch me clean it, because you know everybody's so cool that they love to watch me clean stuff. Yeah, that's it.
Coming back if I do burn in this city. Silly little girl, you put the scratches on my
So I got it pressure washed with a broken pressure wash. It doesn't do much. I'm going to come back with simple green wire brush and the Brillo pads and give it another scrub down before I get to bring it into the yard. So I guess I'll go ahead and get that out of the way, and then we'll move on to the next part. So I'll see you guys later after I've done all that. So now it's much cleaner. I got to soak up some water so I can take my bags off. Yeah, it's so much cleaner than it was. The grease was just so caked on. I still have so much more scrubbing and cleaning to do. Alright, so I got the harmonic balancer off. It wasn't very hard at all, man. I can practically pull it off with my hand. I don't know if Buick was designed like that. So far, everything with this motor has been super easy. I'm going to pull the distributor next, get that fuel pump off, disconnect it from the line here, leave the line connected to the fuel pump, take the fuel pump out, and then we're going to see if we just can't take the entire front timing cover assembly off. Does that make you dizzy? And then we'll go from there. Alright, sorry about the bad angle, but I'm going to pull this piece off. And I want you guys to see this. There it is. So this is, you ready for this? This is the water pump, the distributor mount, the oil filter, fuel pump mount, everything in one piece. And I'm dumping water everywhere. Bucket! Look at that. That's the back side of it. Timing cover, oil. That's kind of neat. I like that about it. Now there's nothing to hassle with. Everything is A-okay, Joe. Man, oh man. Got everything off. Ooh, a little bit of green hiding in there. Got everything off of here. There's the distributor gear right up in front. And there's the fuel pump lobe. And there's the loose as hell timing chain. That is not good. That's the reason why this car ran like it did. Someone had cranked the timing advanced on it so it ran smooth and it still seemed like everything was good to go and had a lot of power. But if you try to shut it off after it was warmed up and hot, it would diesel forever, and then it would be hard to start once it was hot again. So it was just having issues. It ran great, didn't smoke, had great oil pressure, just needs a timing chain in it, cleaned up with some new gaskets to get rid of some oil leaks, and gonna stab her back in there all golden and proud. So, alright, last night it was late, everything was dark, and you couldn't really see much, but pardon the cough, check this out. You see that color? That weird looking color there, almost like some bad Bakelite. This is the original chain. This looks like the original factory chain and the original factory nylon gear, because I think when you replace these after that, they're all steel or cast. But that's freaking amazing, man. This thing, 1972, still got its original junk in there. This motor's probably gonna run really great when I'm finished. I hate using this phone, but now it's time to take the intake off. Really long intake. Which way did I do with this? If you're buying all the free tools, I feel bad for your son. I got 99 sockets for the turn. Shit. I was fucking myself with the things. Bitch is so heavy. Holy shit. Oh wow, this is like the heaviest freaking intake I've ever picked up, man. And I've done a few of these Mopars, a few Mopars, a few GMs. This thing is insanely heavy. Shit. So I finally got all the edges taped up, marked off, and I just slapped the valve covers on there for now because I'm going to sand them down and repaint them black, so overspray don't matter. And same with the oil pan. I've got my gold color here that we're going to use on this thing. I think it's going to be a great contrast for the color of the outside of the car. Other than that, let's see if we can't do a little time-lapsing of this mess so we can get this over with. I dropped like that y'all can get across how awesome this color is. Like, I haven't cleared it yet. It's just glowing. Literally glowing. Now I should probably do the bottom of the exhaust manifold bolts. Yeah, I'm gonna have to break out the other can later just to do touch-ups, but this is great, man. I love the way this looks. If you can imagine it with a black oil pan, black valve covers, and a silver intake, this thing is gonna be phenomenal. At least as far as how good it looks. It still has the timing chain in there. Rock Auto fucked me, so I've got to wait till they get their stuff together, and then I'm gonna have to go pick up a new one on my own so I can just keep the build going. Alright, so that's where we're at on this one. We're just going to continue on filming. We've got the Robert's Jeep's coming up. We're going to prime the oil pump on it, make sure it's got pressure. He had to pull his harness that he ran out. It had a break somewhere in it. Had to buy an entirely new harness and run it again. So he's got that going on. So we're going to be starting and actually revving the Jeep real soon. We're going to be trying to continue on doing more brake work on the Ram Charger here real soon and get it filled up. Not filled up. Sorry. Get it finished up and just keep on moving with the projects, because I'm really trying to clear everyone out right now so I can get to Rusty, our 4x4 that I want to use the 53 Chevy cab for. And well, that just means I have to finish a bunch of stuff up and free up my time. Other than that, I'll see y'all next time. Love what you do. 3, 4. 20 minutes of nothing is 20 minutes of nothing. You just wasted your life watching 20 minutes of nothing. It's not smoking crack, but you can't get it back. You just wasted your life watching 20 minutes of nothing. Thought it was something, my 20 minutes of nothing.